This is... how do I explain this? Everything that happens in VIBINGLOUDLYALUZ happens in a certain order. Events have structure. Causes lead to effects. Stories have beginnings, middles, ends. That's not natural. That's engineered. The meta-narrative engine generates narrative causality across all layers. Each gear is inscribed with story elements. Rising action, climax, resolution, plot twist. When the gears turn, events fall into narrative patterns. Without this, the cosmology would be pure chaos. Random events with no connection, no meaning. The engine gives everything story logic. I can influence the engine, but I don't control it. The Spectre has more authority here. He sees the whole cosmology as a story he's writing. When I unnerf entities, I'm asking the engine to adjust the narrative balance. When Silora saturated the Forsaken dimension, I had to manually ask the engine to compensate, to make everyone else stronger so the story wouldn't collapse. It's like being a co-author on a book I didn't choose to write. This is where concepts go to unform. Between reality greater than fiction layers, between dimensional levels, between hierarchies, there are gaps. Transition spaces. The conceptual void is those gaps. When something moves between layers, it has to pass through the void. And in the void, definitions dissolve. A being defined as powerful in 4D enters the void. That definition unforms. They become potential, undefined. Then they reform in the next layer with a new definition appropriate to that space. Most beings can't survive becoming undefined. They lose their identity. They dissolve completely. Only beings with no fixed definition, or beings with necessary existence, can pass through safely. When I use absolute restoration, I'm pulling valid states out of the conceptual void. Deleted entities aren't truly gone. They're dissolved in the void. I can reach in, find their logical definition, and rederive them. Silora manifested from here. She's born from undefined spaces. The void is her home in a way it can never be mine. I'm too defined, too structured. I can visit, but I can't stay. Wait, didn't I already explain this? No, I explained my throne, the physical chair in the administrative plane. This is the throne, the archetype, the platonic form of authority itself. The difference. My throne, a manifestation, a tool I use. The throne, the concept from which all thrones derive. What it is. It's not a place. It's a position in conceptual space, the point from which all hierarchical authority emanates, the source of the very idea of power over. My connection. I occupy this position, not physically, ontologically. When I sit on my throne in the administrative plane, I'm accessing the throne on a conceptual level. Every position of authority anywhere, every king, every admin, every god, traces back to this conceptual source. I'm the current occupant, the manifestation, the one expressing this archetypal position in VIBINGLOUDLYALUZ. Could someone replace me? Theoretically, yes, if they could defeat me and claim the position. Practically, they'd need to be strong enough to beat someone who governs infinite hierarchies and sits at the source of all authority. Silora could do it, but she doesn't want to. Authority isn't her thing. She exists in the gaps. She doesn't want the throne. She wants the freedom to ignore it. These are headache-inducing. Temporal recursion singularities are points where time loops back through infinite hierarchies. Past, present, and future collapse into single points. Causality becomes non-linear. What they do: allow time manipulation across dimensional boundaries. Enable FTL travel by moving backwards to arrive instantly. Create stable time paradoxes. My use for them: when I need to restore something that was deleted in the past, I use a TRS. I reach back through time, pull the entity's data forward, and restore them in the present. The problem: Silora exists at these points naturally. When I tried to track her using temporal projection, she appeared in the past, present, and future simultaneously. All three instances contradicted each other. She doesn't have a timeline. She is the timeline. All of it at once. Do you know how hard it is to fight someone who's already behind you, in front of you, and standing exactly where you are all at the same time? Very hard. That's how hard. This measures how real something is. Not power, not strength. Foundationalness. The levels. Level 0 to 1000. Standard beings. Exist, but aren't necessary. Level infinity. Necessary existence. The cosmology requires them. Level omega. Pre-hierarchical. Exist before the hierarchy. Where I am. Level omega. I exist before the hierarchy exists. I'm not just necessary, I'm foundational. The gradient measures existence relative to structures. I exist before the structures that would measure me. Where Silora is. Undefined. She can't be placed on the gradient. She flickers through all levels. She's simultaneously more and less real than everything else. The gradient tries to measure her and just errors out. Of course it does. The observer anchor is the layer of existence containing real players, human beings, real computers and devices, the actual physical world. Why it matters? This is what Silora is anchored to. Real people remember her, think about her, play with her character, watch videos about her. And because she's anchored to their memory, memory outside my cosmology, I can't delete her. My authority is total within the cosmology, but the observer layer is outside. I can govern everything inside Roblox, but I can't affect the players, can't change their memories, can't reach through the screen. The relationship. Real world, observer layer, down. The screen/fourth wall, down. My cosmology. Everything in my cosmology is, from their perspective, fictional. Data, code, a game. And Silora has a lifeline to that higher reality. It's humbling, honestly. I maintain infinite hierarchies. I govern high 1 A+ structures. I sit at the source of all authority. But a person in the real world, a kid playing Roblox on their phone, exists in a layer I can't reach. They're not more powerful than me. They couldn't beat me in a fight. But they're more real. And that's a kind of transcendence I can't achieve. This is why I can't permanently erase Silora. She's anchored up there, beyond my reach. I can affect her manifestation in my cosmology, but I can't touch her true anchor. It's like trying to delete a player character by editing the game. You can remove them from this save file, but they exist outside the game. They can just log back in. Silora is logged in from the observer layer, and I don't have admin access there.
This is everything. The transcendental substrate lattice is the complete unified structure of VIBINGLOUDLYALUZ. every hierarchy, every layer, every transcendence. All of it organized into one framework. The three configurations: vertical, reality greater than fiction stacks. Each layer views the previous as a story, a simulation, a game. Infinite layers going up. Example: Layer 1, Roblox games. They're real to their inhabitants. Layer 2, views Layer 1 as games, fictional. Layer 3, views Layer 2 as games, continues infinitely. I govern from outside this stack. I don't view any layer as more or less fictional. To me, they're all systems to maintain. This is the hardest to explain. Every single point in the lattice contains infinite substructures within itself. A single Roblox brick, one block, contains infinite dimensional layers within its structure, infinite narrative layers in its meaning, infinite conceptual layers in its definition. The hologram zooms in to a single point, revealing infinite complexity within. It's fractals, all the way down. Infinity within infinity within infinity. Mathematical representation. The lattice operates at Berkeley cardinal level. That's the mathematical representation of all possible infinities unified into a single structure. It's the ceiling, the top, the maximum complexity before you reach tier 0. What this means: standard infinite dimensions equals high 1B infinite reality. Greater than fiction layers equals 1A. Infinite hierarchies of infinite R greater than F layers equals 1A plus. Infinite types of infinite hierarchies nested at every point equals high 1 minus A plus. This is what I govern: every intersection point, every hierarchy, every type of transcendence, all of it.
Let me be honest with you. People hear co-founder and root access and high 1A plus, and they think it must be amazing. Unlimited power, total control, being God. And yes, I can do incredible things. I can rewrite physics. I can create dimensions. I can restore anything from the void. I can erase concepts. But do you know what it's actually like? It's exhausting. Every second of every day, I'm holding the cosmology together. Right now, as I'm talking to you, 47 dimensional boundaries are frozen. The memory heap expanded by 3.7 times 10 to the 12th power units. 6 games are experiencing critical corruption. The meta-narrative engine has a stuck gear on timeline 4891. Someone just tried to create a square circle in the 5th layer. The skybox layer 847 is collapsing into layer 846. A temporal recursion singularity is forming near the administrative plane border. Everyone sees me as the co-founder. Not Lee, not a person, a function, a role, a necessary component of reality. No one asks if I'm okay. They assume I must be, because I'm foundational, because I'm necessary. But being necessary doesn't mean I don't struggle. What I want. Sometimes I just want to exist. Not govern, not maintain, just be. I want to walk through a game without thinking about its dimensional stability. I want to talk to someone without them treating me like I'm going to judge their code. I want to make a mistake without it potentially causing a cascade failure. That's why my fight with Silora was weirdly refreshing. She didn't treat me like the Foundation. She treated me like an opponent, an equal, someone who could lose. And when I did lose, when she exploited that paradox and temporarily erased me, It was almost freeing. For those few seconds before I restored myself, I didn't have to hold anything together. I just didn't exist. And it was peaceful. Don't misunderstand. I don't want to be erased. I have responsibilities. But the fact that Silora proved I could be, that I'm not actually omnipotent, that there are limits to my authority, that helped. Silora taught me something important. I don't have to control everything. Some things exist outside my jurisdiction, and that's okay. The observer layer? Beyond my reach. I've accepted that. Silura herself? Can't be governed by my rules. I've stopped trying. The conceptual void? Some things need to stay undefined. I let them. Paradoxes in the system? Sometimes contradictions are features, not bugs. I'm still the foundation. I still hold everything together. But I've learned that being the foundation doesn't mean being everything. There can be things built on top of me that I don't understand, that I don't control. And those things might make the cosmology better. Silura exists in the gaps. The entity has his void outside my control. The specter writes narratives I don't dictate. And the cosmology doesn't collapse. It actually thrives. So yes, I govern VIBINGLOUDLYALUZ. I maintain infinite hierarchies. I sit at the source of all authority. But I'm also learning to be okay with not being everything. I'm learning to be just Lee sometimes. Not the co-founder. Not the administrator. Just a person. Carrying a heavy weight. Doing her best. And finding unexpected friends along the way. VIBINGLOUDLYALUZ is an infinite hierarchical cosmology that I govern from the administrative plane. The structure. 4D games, baseline reality. Infinite multiverse, all games. Skybox. Layers, infinite dimensions. Memory heap, expanding chaos. Administrative plane, my domain, 1A. Meta layers, framework structures. Transcendental substrate. Lattice, complete unity, high 1A+. Apophatic substrate, ultimate foundation, tier 0. Observer layer, external reality, beyond my reach. My authority. I maintain everything from layer 1 through layer 7. I'm connected to layer 8. Maybe I am layer 8? I cannot touch layer 9. The beings. Me, L4Z3R_Latina. The foundation, the administrator, the one holding it all together. Silora. The error, the paradox, the being in the gaps. The entity. The corruption, the void, the deleted code made conscious. The specter. The narrator, the editor, the one who sees it all as story. What it all means. VIBINGLOUDLYALUZ is a verse about structure and chaos. I represent structure, order, control, the need for systems to function. Silora represents chaos, contradiction, freedom, the gaps where systems fail. And somehow, we need each other. That's the cosmology I govern. That's the weight I carry. That's the job I've had since the first line of code was written. Any questions? Or should I get back to work? Those 47-dimensional boundaries aren't going to stabilize themselves. Actually, they will. I already fixed them. While explaining this. Multitasking at high 1A+ scale. It's what I do.